When I was a TV journalist, every day and almost every assignment was wildly different. One day, I'd be backstage at Dancing with the Stars, learning how to do the samba or the cha-cha. Or I would be at a movie premiere, interviewing actors. And then literally the next day, I could be at the scene of a scorching wildfire or at a destructive tornado. I remember being sent to cover a volcano eruption in Hawaii. The National Guard escorted us into areas that were under mandatory evacuation. And from there, we could see the lava moving like a dark river. It was heavy and slow. It didn't rush. It didn't roar. It just crept forward, relentless, in a low and steady grind over earth, swallowing up rocks and trees without a sound. The locals called this force Pele, the goddess of fire and volcanoes, and they very reverently described her as the creator of the Hawaiian Islands. The National Park Service said that more than 700 homes were ultimately destroyed by the large lava flows. But in typical journalism fashion, I was already off to my next story. It was probably some celebrity interview or something, but my thoughts were still in Hawaii. I wondered where the displaced people who I had met and interviewed, where they slept that night. I'd wake up from my own sleep feeling like I was still surrounded by the lava. How many of you here, and I want to see a show of hands, have been kept up at night from some kind of a fear or a past event? Yeah, almost everybody. And you're not alone. Fear is ancient. According to different fields of science like neuroscience, biology, psychology, we learn about fight or flight and how the amygdala in the brain lights up when it sees any other face showing a human emotion. So if I look at someone in the audience and you're giving me a mean look, which please don't, I'm already a little nervous, then the amygdala lights up like a smoke detector. It's designed to detect any potential threat, even if that so-called threat is just a mean look from somebody in the audience. And this sets off a whole chain reaction in the body. Your heart starts to race a little faster. Your pupils widen. Blood flows into your muscles and prepares you to fight or to flee. It's an ancient survival hack, but not so helpful for public speaking. And that's why today I want to talk to you about the art of calming a restless mind. And there are 2 points that I'm going to focus on. The first is how to question and evaluate your negative thoughts. And the second is how to utilize positive affirmative statements. Okay, so let's start with questioning negative thoughts. I once had an interview on my podcast with a spiritual teacher named Shri Ravi Shankar. And he said something that really stuck with me. It really resonated. He said, "You often doubt that somebody loves you, but you never doubt your fear or your anxiety. Those you're so sure of. Somebody says, 'I love you,' and you go, 'Really? You do?' But somebody says something negative and you're so quick to believe them." So let's go over some different types of negative thoughts that are common and see if any of them resonate with you. Harvard University's Stress and Development Lab hosted a few different types, and I chose the top few. The first is called mind filter. And this one's not as pretty as an Instagram filter. It's not as cute, and I'll tell you why. Because a mind filter is when you are dwelling on one negative detail in a situation, so much so that it starts to discolor your entire reality. This is like a drop of ink in a glass of water, and how that one drop discolors the entire glass. The second is called mind reading. And this is when we believe that somebody is reacting negatively, but we don't bother to validate whether or not that's true. Like, calling them, for example. And then after that, there's a third one, called jumping to conclusions. And I feel like everybody knows this because it's the advice that we've given somebody or someone has given you of, hey, you're jumping to conclusions. Stop jumping to conclusions. This is when you come up with a negative interpretation and you do so even if the facts don't validate that conclusion. And the fourth one I think is my favorite. The fourth is called fortune telling. Fortune telling is when you expect something to go wrong. I really tried not to do that with my TEDx talk. It's when you feel certain that your prediction is a fact. That one actually reminds me of when I was on vacation and I went snorkeling with the turtles, sea turtles. I really wanted to do this, but I have an irrational fear of sharks. But I really wanted to do it. So when I find myself swimming far away from shore off a boat with these incredible, magnificent sea turtles, total peace, when suddenly my brain goes, hey, remember that part where sharks exist? And suddenly the peace vanishes. I whip my head around, expecting to see a great white shark torpedoing toward me. Its rows of pointy teeth headed straight for my throat. I'm in total panic mode, but there's nothing there. It's just me, the turtles, and an overactive imagination feeding me a Jaws sequel that nobody asked for. But what do we do when these thoughts come up? What do we do? In 2022, Harvard Medical School posted a simple 3-step exercise on how to reframe negative thoughts. The first step is just catch the thought. Be aware of it. Notice, oh, I'm mind reading right now. I'm jumping to conclusions. And then view the thought as understandable, right? You want to be gentle with yourself. It's understandable that I would have this thought, but it's ultimately unhelpful. Okay. And then second, you write it down. These researchers say that seeing the thought on paper engages a different part of the brain and helps you evaluate it more effectively. Third step is where you do a little bit of work and you just come up with the evidence for and against that thought. So for example, let's say you were laid off from a position or a job and your mind is throwing out labels like unemployable, total failure. It's time to pause and look at the facts. Is it true that you are a job hopping disaster? Look at the evidence. You've held steady jobs before. You have a degree. Maybe you have certifications or qualifications. Yeah, being laid off from a position is tough, but it doesn't suddenly make you incompetent. So doing exercises like this can help you soften the blow. You might still feel disappointed, but it's without the downward spiral of, oh my God, it's all over. Instead, you just look at it as a setback and not the end of your story. Now, look, this practice is not an overnight fix because let's face it, your mind has been calling the shots for a long time without you questioning it. And it's not going to just change overnight. But the more you question with a genuine curiosity, wanting to go beyond the negative thoughts, beyond the self-doubt, the more you connect deeper and deeper with yourself. The great Sufi poet that many of us know simply as Rumi said, one of the marvels of the world is to see a soul sitting in a prison with a key in its hand. And many scholars say he's referring to the prison of the mind and reminding you that you carry the key in your hand. So now let's click to the opposite of this, which is positive, affirmative statements. The idea here is that you want to feed the mind positive concepts to chew on. It's like distracting a puppy with a toy. A study in 2015 in social, cognitive, and affective neuroscience showed that the brain's reward system lights up with positive affirmations. This is the same part of the brain that responds to things like sugar and other pleasurable things. And in 2009, A study that was published on PubMed shows that students who wrote positive affirmations or statements about themselves and about their performance before an exam had a less adrenaline-related stress response. And this suggested to them that the positive affirmations could be stabilizing the sympathetic nervous system, therefore easing the stress-related response. And this was especially true for those students that were most concerned about academic performance. Now, I know it's very easy to brush off affirmations as fuzzy or woo-woo, but imagine a CEO standing in her office, preparing herself for a board meeting, hyping herself up, looking in the mirror, saying things like, "Today is mine." Affirmations aren't just for people like me who do yoga on the beach and carry crystals in their pocket. It can be a powerful tool for many professionals. Or say you're an actor. You're going to an audition. Saying to yourself, "I am enough," might feel a little awkward, but it could be the thing to give you the edge to land the role. I would love to hear everybody here repeat it after me, okay? Don't be shy. I am enough exactly as I am. Yeah, feels good. And this isn't to say that you can just affirm your way to success, right? I didn't win 4 Emmys by just doing affirmations. I was chasing stories, staying up all night, reporting, editing, producing, whatever it took. But doing affirmations, speaking positively with yourself, can give much needed momentum to whatever action you're already taking. Muhammad Ali said, "I am the greatest." And I said that before I knew that I was. That's the important part. I am the greatest. And I said that before I knew that I was. That's why words are so powerful. They're like spells that you cast, framing the way you see yourself, the way you see others, the way you see the world. If you were back there 20 minutes ago, you would have seen me talking to myself like a child, saying, "I love you. You deserve to be here. You are worthy. And I'm so proud of you that even when you're uncomfortable, you still go out there and you do it." How beautiful would this world be if we were all that gentle with ourselves and we spoke to ourselves kindly like that? So if you're open to it, I would love to do a little mindfulness exercise with you. I'm going to end it here. And I just want you to close your eyes, get comfortable. If you're more comfortable not closing your eyes, just feel free to gaze down at the floor. I just want you to soften. That's the point here. Okay? And just say to yourself in your mind, "I am aware of my hands." And notice how your awareness goes to your hands. Say, "I am aware," and this is in your mind, "I am aware of my feet." Notice how your awareness goes there. "I am aware of my breath." Good. And now you're going to say your name. So just "I am" and your name. I would say, "I am Frank Elaridi." You say your name. And think about all the associations that come with that name, all the responsibilities, all the roles that you play, the history that comes with that name. And now take the name out of it and just "I am." I am. Without the roles, without the story, without the responsibility, just "I am." Breathe into that. And now whatever you want to affirm, add it to that statement. So I am enough. I am confident. I am kind. Whatever you want to add. And take a deep breath here. Hold, and then powerfully exhale it out. Thank you.